Good morning. How are you doing today? We need to talk about some spring scents now that it's technically kind of springtime at Bath & Body Works. I wanted to get in the spring mood by reminiscing and wish listing 10 Bath & Body Works scents that I wish they would bring back. Today we have Arthur here to help me make this video, or to at least give himself a bath while I make this video. Now, I have made the same video for both fall scents and winter scents, and if you're curious about which scents I would bring back for those seasons, I'll make sure to cycle them through the card section up above if you want to watch those. Spring for me is a little bit challenging because of the 4 seasons. That is probably the least excited I get for fragrance. I personally don't really enjoy floral fragrances, so I usually reserve this time of the season for fruity fragrances, maybe some herbaceous, and maybe some fresh clean. With that, there's also kind of a blurred line between what counts as a spring scent versus what counts as a summer fragrance. Like I said, if it's fruity, it could really go either way, but more tropical fruits, things like mangoes, pineapples, watermelon, I usually try and save those for summer, while for springtime, I usually focus more on things like berries, citrus, and peaches, that kind of stuff. So you'll see that reflected in these fragrances. The last thing to note before we start this list is that a lot of these fragrances I have owned or smelled before, but a lot of them also are ones that I have not experienced before or that I'm curious about. I kind of remember vaguely from the past, but I either missed out on purchasing it or I just kind of wasn't around shopping in Bath & Body Works land at this time. And now I regret not having the chance to have those in my collection. Let's go in chronological order, starting with in 2014, there was a collection called the Artisan Collection, and I wouldn't mind if they brought back any of the 3 fragrances from this collection, but the one that I remember the most and wish that I had in my collection was the Lemon Pomegranate Cream. So this one is described as having a light as air blend of lemon cream, red pomegranates, and iced raspberries, topped with whitewoods and peony petals. I remember my store having a lot of inventory of this one. I think they just sent us way too much than what we could sell, and so I remember this one coming back for semi-annual sales, maybe from our box up back room, but also I think the company was just sending us a bunch. So it's not that it was rare or limited in any way, and I think because of that reason, I didn't really bother purchasing any of these fragrances from the Artisan Collection, and now they've been long since gone, so I did miss out on that one. I didn't feel that kind of fear of missing out at the time because there was just so much. Love the packaging for this whole collection, especially love the color scheme for the lemon and pomegranate. It's so cheerful and definitely would put me in a spring mood. I remember it being more treated like a Coco Shea or the Wellness Collection kind of deal, where they had kind of the cabinets in the wall near the aromatherapy, and also the shapes of the bottles. I remember the shower gel was the same kind of shower gel bottles that they had for aromatherapy at the time. They also had pumps for the lotions instead of the standard bottles that we normally get for signature collections. The other 2 fragrances in this collection, and like I said, I wouldn't mind if either of these came back in the form of a repackage. They had Apple Blossom Lavender, and then there was also a Peach Honey Almond, which I definitely would be curious to re-smell that one. I remember liking it at the time. So I have picked 1 fragrance from each collection, but a lot of these collections were really solid, and so oftentimes I think you're going to hear me say I wouldn't mind if they bring back the whole collection at some point, but this was a good collection. This was spring of 2015. The collection was called Southern Sweet, and this one is actually where the strawberry bourbon vanilla came from, which is coming back this year, so I know a lot of people are excited to see that one come back. But the one fragrance that I feel like is really worthy of coming back, and I'm surprised that we haven't seen it, is called Sweet Magnolia and Clementine. Like I preface, I'm not normally a floral person, but I find that this one just had a nice set of top notes. The fruitiness of the clementine really carried this fragrance, and I thought it was just a really good blend, surprisingly, for being a fruity floral. It was more heavy on the fruity, at least on my skin. Love the packaging of all of this one. In fact, it's a little bit similar to some packagings that we've seen for later springs. We'll get to that in a little bit. They kind of had some lace going on, and they had souffle body butters, which was kind of a fun, different little thing for the body care line that they had. So for Sweet Magnolia Clementine, the fragrance notes were sweet magnolia, fresh clementine, blooming gardenia, which is surprising to me that I actually remember liking this one so much because gardenia and I don't really mix. Gardenia just doesn't smell good on me, but in this case it did. Okay, so blooming gardenia, spring sandalwood, and golden honey. It really was a surprisingly sweet blend, and I credit it to the golden honey. I'm gonna do my best to include photos of these body care, but not just the body care itself, but also the fragrances that were also in the collection. And I love to see kind of in the history of Bath & Body Works how they marketed the fragrances. So all of the backdrops and the props that they use and just kind of the color scheming and all of that. So I'll make sure to include as many photos as I can of these collections so you get a really good idea of the brand story that they were going going for. But also in this collection for Southern Sweet, they had the Sheer Cotton Lemonade, the Bourbon Strawberry Vanilla like I talked about, and then there was also the Georgia Peach and Sweet Tea. That's probably the one that I liked the best, at least in the most obvious sense of the collection. I feel like it was mainly pretty as a peach without the floral notes in it, if that makes sense. I didn't really get a strong sense of sun tea, if I remember correctly, but of course my nose could have changed since then, and if they were to bring it back, it would be pretty cool to see a stronger note of sun tea in it. But yeah, really solid collection, but I really would like to see that Sweet Magnolia and Clementine come back. So this is where the blurred line between spring and summer kind of comes into play. So this was released around June of 2015, so the same year. At this time, it was a unique situation in which they released a collection that only consists of shower gels and bar soaps. I think it was just because they wanted to do kind of like post-shower after swimming on the beach all day kind of vibe. It didn't include any lotions or exfoliants or even body mists at all. So of this collection of shower gels, they released 7 different fragrances, and again, I would love all of these fragrances to come back, and one of them is very familiar to us, and it is Coconut Lime Verbena. So they threw that one in there, and just love the colors, love the way they branded this, by the way. You'll see the pictures. I love the branding and the marketing that they did for it. At this point, I was just about ready to start working at Bath & Body Works, so I vaguely remember this kind of being on the sales floor, with the exception, of course, of the Coconut Lime Verbena. I don't really remember any of these fragrances. If I were to bring one back, I think the one that I'd like to try the most is the Iced Tangerine Mojito, that kind of dark orange reddish one. Also, based on the notes, I feel like this one would be something I would wear during the spring more than the other ones. I might lean more towards as a summer fragrance. But the notes for the Tangerine Mojito are wild tangerine, iced mint, water lily, and nectarine sorbet. I know I like nectarine sorbet. There actually is a fragrance by the Calgon Take Me Away that has nectarine sorbet, and I just love that scent actually. So if it smells anything like that, I know I would love this one. But also in the collection, as you can see to the side, there are creamy almond and sunflower, ocean melon and mango, which is probably my second choice of what I would like, although once again, that's leaning more for summer. Summer Rain and Linen, Coconut Lime Verbena, Pink Hibiscus and Pomegranate, Fresh Water Waves, and Sandalwood. We're jumping into the next year, so it's spring of 2016, and this is where things get a little bit more familiar, at least to me. At this point, I was working consistently at Bath & Body Works, so I remember a little bit stronger of what was going on at the time. The one I'm about to mention is a top 10 body care fragrances for me, and you have heard me probably talk about it over and over if you've been to my channel before, and that is Lavender and Spring Apricot. Here are a couple of the items I have remaining in my collection. I've got it in the Fine Fragrance Mist and the Body Cream. I've got shower gel floating around somewhere too, but these ones I just wanted to share how they looked with you. Love the purple color, love the packaging. I was going to say this is a very similar packaging to the previous spring. You can tell that they seem to like that kind of idea or style for springtime. I feel like very momentarily this was kind of their style of marketing, just like how nowadays they do faceted in different fragrances over and over. They kind of had like this lacy look. This is not the only example in which they had done this. There was also like a Cinco de Mayo themed collection where they had like flowers or lace or something like that kind of swirling around the bottles of the mist. So I feel like that was kind of their style back then, and I miss it. I think it's a lot cuter than like faceted bottles. But either way, the fragrance notes on this one are dewy lavender leaves, spring apricot, Lady Gala apple, magnolia bloom, and cashmere woods. I believe that the collection that this came from is called Spring Market, and here's a little blurb on the back to kind of give you an idea of brand story. You're invited to a fabulous garden party. Join us as we celebrate the perfect spring day with lush blooms and irresistible treats. So besides the lavender spring apricot, there were 3 other fragrances in the collection. Again, wouldn't mind if any of them came back. And actually, the next fragrance on my list is another one that is in this collection, but this collection also included Watermelon Lemonade, love that fragrance. Then there was a green one that was Gardenia Fresh Rain, and then the last fragrance of that collection, which leads me into the next fragrance I wish they would bring back, is Raspberry and Sweet Mint. I had these little travel sizes of the shower gel, the lotion, and the little mist, and they were my gratis. I remember they had little gratis stickers on them, so loved those ones, would love to see that one come back. It had notes of raspberry nectar, pink pomelo, sweet mint, jasmine petals, and vanilla sugar. Now this one actually is surprisingly similar smelling to the lavender spring apricot, which is kind of weird. And it's not that they're super similar in the sense that if you were to smell deeply, you'd be like, yeah, I can smell the difference in the notes. It's not that you confuse one for another. They just smelled similar as in like they were in that same kind of fruity meets herbaceous category. They both were very sweet, and I feel like they just had that classic 2016 Bath & Body Works smell, which is a very reminiscent smell to me. I don't even really know how to describe it. It's almost like this little underlying tone that all Bath & Body Works fragrances had during that era, and I really like that. Okay, we are now on the 6th fragrance of Bath & Body Works scents I wish they would bring back for spring, and this one is leaning a little bit more on the summer side. There was a really great collection that was released in the summer of 2016, and one of the fragrances is one that was highly talked about, so much so that they did actually bringing it back, so you'll be familiar with it if you are a little bit on the newer side to Bath & Body Works fragrances, and that is the Beach Nights Summer Marshmallow. It's that whole collection. So the collection was called The Perfect Summer, and the fragrance that I wish that they would bring back the most from that set is called Live Fresh Seaside Breeze. The name I feel was a little bit deceptive on this one. It says Seaside Breeze, which it did have elements of that fresh, breezy kind of saltwater note in there, but it actually was surprisingly fruity and coconutty. I think if I were to compare it to a fragrance at Bath & Body Works, there's two that come to mind. There's the Key West Coconut Water and Melon. Oh, there goes Arthur. And then the other fragrance that it's kind of similar to is like Endless Weekend, except it doesn't have that rich, creamy backdrop of a fragrance. It's more top note heavy, a little bit more bubbly and fruity. So the notes for Live Fresh are coconut water, juicy nectarine, beach blossoms, fresh air, sun-kissed musk. And then the other fragrances that were also in this collection, again, I would love any of these to come back. They had the Beach Night Summer Marshmallow, as you know about probably. There was Sweet Escape, which was called Strawberry Picnic, and it had strawberries, melon, and wildflowers. Get Happy, which was a white peach sangria fragrance, and that one had peach tangerine prosecco. And this one I am a little more familiar with. This one I had a gratis of a travel size body cream of, and I really enjoyed it. It's Sunshine Days, which is sunflower, apple, berries, and vanilla flower with white woods. It did remind me of Beautiful Day, maybe because it was kind of like a fresh floral paired with a green apple kind of scent. So, I don't know, similar to Beautiful Day, I guess. Next fragrance on my list, we're at number 7. So the year had just turned 2017, so this one was kind of like a hit refresh themed wellness collection. And the fragrance that I wish would come back from this set was Wildberry Chamomile. This actually turned into one of Jose's favorite fragrances at the time, and he ended up using a lot of this. Even when it came back for semi-annual sales, I would stock up on this fragrance and he would use some of it up. I still have some in my collection. I love this scent both on me and on him. This is one of the few things that I have left. So again, this was treated a little bit more like an efficacious body care than it was a fragrant body care. It kind of lived in that corner along with the aromatherapy, but this one says it's a blend of white ginger, wild blackberry, and natural tea oil. This one is kind of similar to the Stress Relief Eucalyptus Tea in the sense that those tea notes really kind of give it that herbaceous scent, but instead of eucalyptus, there's definitely no mintiness or kind of that medicinal scent that eucalyptus often can give. It's more of like a sweet, creamy scent. Like if you remember, there was like that bramble tea fragrance that was in a candle a long time ago, many falls ago. It smells very similar to that. Also in that collection, as you'll see in the photos, there was Almond Vanilla, which I think, at least in my store, that was the most popular, the one I sold the most of. There also was a Green Apple and Jasmine fragrance, which was very popular as well. So there is a gap in my list for the last of the fragrances. They actually skip over 2018 and 19. The theory could be that maybe I don't feel like I had any fear of missing out on fragrances. These were the 2 years I worked the most at Bath & Body Works. I think this is when I became a key holder, and so I was pretty much living at the store, shopping pretty much every sale that came by, so I missed out on almost nothing at this point. But the next fragrance on my list happens in 2020, and that is the Margarita Cupcake. This collection, I feel so bad for it. I loved all 3 of the fragrances from this collection. This was the debut of body care version of Strawberry Pound Cake, and then there was also the Confetti Cake Pop. I did purchase all 3 of them, use them, love them, but the Margarita Cupcake is the one that was definitely the most fleeting. But the reason I feel bad about this collection is because I feel like this was the last collection that was released by Bath & Body Works before everything got lost to the COVID years. This was right before things were never the same. I remember they released this collection kind of as a Valentine's Day theme, and then this is kind of when whispers of COVID were starting up in my own town locally, and we were kind of like not too worried about it. We're like, oh, this is just something that's happening elsewhere in the world. It doesn't really affect us. And then the following month, in very early March, this is when the Tropical Collection was released. I remember Waikiki had come back. They had Tiki Bay in that collection, which is the first time we had seen, I think it was Island Margarita in a body care. So I feel like there was lots of expectation and high hopes for the year, and then it just got dashed because then I remember it was St. Patrick's Day of that year that I got the phone call like, hey, don't come to work, we're closed because of COVID. And that's kind of the date on which the line is drawn in my mind of Bath & Body Works pre-COVID, Bath & Body Works during lockdown, and then Bath & Body Works trying to come back after the lockdown. And I think a lot of people will agree with me that it just never really was the same after that. So yes, long story short, when I see this collection, it makes me feel a little bit sad because I feel like it was the last time that I saw Bath & Body Works as kind of a pre-COVID thing. But anyways, the collection was called Sweet on You, and Margarita Cupcake is the one that I wish would come back. Of course, we have seen Strawberry Pound Cake come back consistently as repackages pretty much every season. And then the Confetti Cake Pop, we did actually see that come back. Was that last summer or the summer before? Either way, we have more recently seen the Confetti Cake Pop come back, and it was in a patriotic 4th of July packaging. But the one that we have not seen come back, and the one that I wish we would, is Margarita Cupcake, and that one has notes of key lime, sunny citrus blossom, and whipped vanilla. Second to last on my list was during a Valentine's Day release, so kind of January, February time of 2021. So a lot of you will be familiar with this one. It is Raspberry Jam Donut. I missed out on this one. I no longer was working for the company at this time, and I wasn't in stores hardly ever, so I was mainly doing my shopping online, and that was not happening as much either. So that is why I ended up accidentally missing out on this fragrance. But this whole bake shop collection that they had for this year looked perfect. So they had the chocolate covered cherries in this collection. I do have a shower gel of that one, and I really like it. They also had Strawberry Pound Cake again, and the coconut cream pie. I would love to see the coconut cream pie come back as well. But the Raspberry Jam Donut has wild raspberry jam, powdered sugar, and warm fluffy donut. That sounds super good for a body care scent. I've heard that it's similar to the Santa's Blueberry Shortbread, which is a fragrance I love, so I would probably love this one as well. All right, the last on my list isn't necessarily one specific fragrance, but it's a whole collection. I feel like that happened a lot this time around with the spring fragrances, is I really liked the collections as a whole. The collection that I wish that they would bring back for spring, or for any time really, but this was based in the springtime, is the Fresh Picked collection. I really loved this time for Bath & Body Works. I feel like they had a really strong vision of what they were going for in terms of brand story. I feel like when they're releasing collections now, they don't seem as cohesive as they used to be. Back then, the whole store used to kind of cover one topic, and they would do differences within that topic. Like, there was still something for everybody, and there was plenty of variety, but the whole store matched the theme all the way from the back of the wall to the front of the shop. This is something that I haven't really been seeing in Bath & Body Works anymore, where I feel like each table in the store tells its own separate little story. And that can be a good thing. Like I said, maybe there is a little bit bigger of a variety in terms of packaging, fragrances. In case if there's a theme that you're not as into, there's probably going to be a theme a couple tables away that is more up your alley. But I don't know, there was something really fun about the whole store being themed like one way. I really liked the Fresh Picked Market theme because I feel like it went back to the roots of the Heartland era. There was lots of gingham. They were using that Sunburst logo again, kind of chalkboard, more rustic farm style. And with that, I feel like the fragrances were actually more simplistic and straightforward, but to me, that's appealing. So this actually just started in the spring of 2014, where it was only hand soaps and home fragrance that they had this collection. During the fall of, I believe, the same year, they actually continued on this Fresh Picked Market theme, and they added some fall fragrances to it and even started to include body care items. Unfortunately, I have not gotten the chance to experience any of these items because this was during a period in which I was not shopping at Bath & Body Works at all, and so I really missed out. I had actually just started back up later that same year, if not maybe early 2015, so missed out on those. But I do have something special in my possession from back when I worked at Bath & Body Works. We were cleaning out the back rooms, and I had found these product guide binders that have lots of pictures and stuff from the past. So I have two of them that look like this, and if you've been on my channel, you will have seen me show off some of the pages from them before, but I have some information about the Fresh Picked Market inside these binders, so let's take a look. So like I said, this had started off just as a hand soap and home fragrance collection. You can see not these ones over here, but this one is one of the Fresh Picked Market themes. See how I mean about the blackboard, and they've got like the old school Sunburst logo on it. This is a hand soap of Meyer Lemon. Love Meyer Lemon, so that would be a good one to come back. Now, some of these products will be familiar to us, and we have experienced at least in more modern forms. So we've got a candle there of Market Peach, which has come back every so often. And then hand soaps, Garden Strawberries and Sweet Tangerines. Love the packaging and the fragrance concepts. I'll give you a far away glance so I can read at it, and then I'll show you some close-ups, but this says, all new Fresh Picked Hand and Body Collection. Our hand-picked, authentic assortment of fragrances found at your local market brings nature's harvest to life with mouth-watering fruits and fresh herbs in new, fresh-picked hand and body collection. That was a mouthful. So these market fragrances came in foam hand soap, deep cleansing hand soaps, pocket backs, full-size hand sanitizer, mason jar hand soaps. Is there a picture? There's a little tiny example of the mason jar hand soaps. Those were so cute. Then they also had hard-working hand butter and body cream. So they had like little efficacious kind of things. And then lip balm and lip butter. The fragrances that were available in this, there are 2 familiars and the rest I don't think we've seen come back. So the first familiar is, of course, the Market Peach like we talked about. And then there is Lemon Mint Leaf. I think this was the debut for Lemon Mint Leaf, which is also a good one. So those 2 we know about, but the other ones are Garden Strawberries, Meyer Lemon, Pink Passion Fruit, Sweet Tangerine, and Tuscan Melon. So there's what that looks like there. That is so neat. I love those labels. And then here's some examples of the hand soaps and hand sanitizers on the other page there too. And then same marketing thing, except this is for home fragrance. They had Pink Passion Fruit again, Garden Strawberries, Snap Peas. That is so cool. I would have loved to have smelled Snap Pea in a candle. Market Peach, Lemon Mint Leaf, Honeysuckle Bouquet. I think we have had Honeysuckle Bouquet, or at least Honeysuckle something. Lilac Blossom, and Pomelo Grapefruit. And here's what those fragrance labels look like there. So this little booklet is from my next binder that I have. This is for fall of the same year, and they had released some new fragrances to still be a part of that same market-themed collection. And this is when we start seeing more of like the body care items there. So that is a shower gel right there and heirloom cranberries, and then we've got like some farm stand apple stuff. There's like a little body cream or a hand cream there. And then once again, we've got home fragrance and the hand soap, but this is when we start seeing more of the body cares. I think that's a pump lotion of pear. We've got a body wash of apple and a hand cream of tangerine. Same products except a little bit better of a picture there, but see this whole spread? Doesn't that just look so Bath & Body Works to you? I feel like this is what I think of when I think of Bath & Body Works, even though it's not what I'm getting anymore. Mason jar hand soaps and candles. Okay, so here are the body care fragrances listed. Fresh picked, Honeycrisp apples, lemons, pears, scarlet pumpkin, ooh, wild mint, and tangerines. That sounds so good. I would love any of those, but I think I'm most interested in the scarlet pumpkin and the pear, although Honeycrisp apple is always good. All right, I think that is a good place to end here. Those are the fragrances and collections that I wish that Bath & Body Works would bring back for us for some spring scents. You'll have to let me know down in the comments below. Did any of these fragrances bring back some nostalgic memories for you? Also, let me know which fragrance would you bring back to Bath & Body Works if you could for springtime. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.